trading.
Okay, just a little impromptu casting here by RavExel. This is the University of Toronto esports team live playing in Montreal right now for the ETS Tournament, and this is the second game. We just got a little notification on my Twitch feed that the AD carry here was going live on Twitch, and here they are in their second match. The first match they had a 20-minute win. Very easy. They really outclassed the other team. I'm not sure if it was another college or university, but they really were not in the same league. And here we're seeing some different picks from the University of Toronto. In the last game, the bot lane they were running was Varus Karma, with Karma going the quick Ardent Sensor, and here there's another Ardent Sensor support in Lulu, and a slightly different AD carry in Caitlyn. Also the top lane jungle and mid have all changed as well, so a completely different team. It looks like they're trying things out. I'm not sure of the format of this tournament, but if they're very confident, if it's a round robin initially, then they could be just using this as competitive practice and wanting to try out different comps. When you're running the Malachi top, you're not necessarily looking to do anything too extreme, just looking to run with a more safe top laner. Anyways, in the last game, the Jarvan was looking very, very strong and was able to secure all the objectives and get a whole bunch of kills, and along with the AD carry was calling a good portion of that game. So really in this team you can hear 2 to 3 very, very distinct voices with two others in the background. So it's just kind of interesting listening to their communication here before this game. But very, very close. First blood going over to looks like this the Kazakhs, and not too much else. They have pushing lanes here in bottom and mid, and then top lane Nar should be the aggressor. We're going to see when this Kazakhs wants to leave his jungle and then start moving into the enemy's jungle. But let's take a look at this bot lane matchup just a little bit more. We have Taric, who's a melee support, along versus a Lulu. So there's a little bit of an EQ there from Lulu, trying to pick up the kill. I do that one frequently myself, and you do a surprising amount of damage, but it is on a Taric, so it does have some built-in resistances and hit points. TP completed. And this is a completion of the 4-man bottom, and even with that W landed from Lux, there's not a whole lot you can do against these 3 members that are left. There was 4, but Taric went back to go heal. Anyways, what I was saying is, so Lulu will have the range advantage on Taric, although Taric should have the more key ultimate in mid game and late game. And then for the AD carry is, of course, Caitlyn outranges Xayah and should be able to at least poke out the lane and be able to take out that first turret. So this is what's happening. So everything's playing out as it should. The top lane is the interesting matchup right now. Malachi up 2 CS. Up in CS, and you're against a ranged champion. So very, very happy to do that. Anytime you can go even with a lane that you're supposed to be losing, something you definitely want to be taking. Bot lane's going to be heading back. I don't think anyone is going to be rushing for this dragon anytime soon. Didn't quite get a hard look at the enemy team as this was just loading up as I started casting. But we have a Lux mid, Nar top. We already talked about the bot lane. And then the jungler, we saw it was Warwick. So Warwick's going to need to get a little bit of time to get on. He's got a severe level disadvantage on Kazakhs. Yes, he shows in that graphic level 3. He's probably level 4 as he's been farming for the last minute or so, but still at a disadvantage against the Kazakhs, who's going to hit 6 first, and we're going to see if there's a team fight fought around it. If you have 1 or 2 ultimates on the enemy team, then you have a very, very big advantage on being able to win that next team fight. So good warding. It looks like they're going for a blue buff steal. That's what the wards indicate, but they're just looking to get some deep vision and where they can continue to push in this wave and not be in fear of Warwick jumping down. Now, if the blast cone was there as well, somewhere up in this area, you always want to knock that down as well. especially when it's on the enemy team, because it's an easy way for the jungler to get in and start ganking you. So here Talia's going to try to block off that Rue bluff, and Kha'Zix successfully stealing it. Stopwatch used by the Lulu. So just a little bit of an early use there. Better to use it than to not. And an easy first dragon, and this is from the play that was done from the blue buff with Talia blocking off the two teams. Kha'Zix getting the steal. He used the smite, but they were able to get sufficient damage off into the red team so that they could just walk right down and take the dragon uncontested. So good string of events there where that wasn't necessarily what they were going for, but because of the damage they were able to do and the enemy team not wanting to overcommit at all, then you're able to pick up this ocean dragon for really nothing. So just a little bit of time, a little bit of tempo. That's it. So the mid matchup, I can't say that I'm familiar with the Talia Lux matchup because we don't see Lux in the mid lane too much. As with all Lux matchups, is you have to hit your skills, and Talia is a pretty hard person to hit. Like, not that she has any escapes, but she's fairly fast moving, and she can farm from a distance with her Q. So doesn't really need to go up and challenge Lux at all. There looks like there's going to be a gank in mid lane. Kha'Zix is diving out of the turret. Maokai coming from the behind. And I'm sorry, we just don't have that. We're on the 80 carry right now. Hopefully he goes up and looks. And there he goes. He looks up, and not quite enough time to see the Kha'Zix take out the Lux. But hey, that's a successful gank in mid. And that was with Maokai just walking right in without even having to use a TP or anything. So not quite as dominant as the last game, which I'm actually happy for. I didn't really want to see another 20-5 stomp. So yes, it is 4-0, and yes, first dragon's been down, first tower's about to go down, but this enemy team has not committed any sort of catastrophic errors as of yet, and still can possibly get out a team fight winner or something. So here we have Nar showing bot lane. So the enemy team loses their bot tower and then looks to do a lane swap, but now they can see their jungler down here. So that was just a very not a high level play, because that cannon minion was still alive from blue side, that it was not nearly far enough for the Warwick to be not seen to go into that bush. So really there's no point. You're just trying to force it. But any higher level player, and these players are all diamond or above, including one challenger, they're gonna see it. They're gonna see it if you're walking into a bush and minions are seeing you. Then so there, Maokai, knowing that he was dead, thinking he was dead, going back in. I thought he was dead. Team being able to clean up. Now the other more traditional lane swap is when you take the tower, you go ahead and switch to the other side, and here you have the bot lane with the Caitlyn. This is traditional Caitlyn play. Now this is not something the University of Toronto team only does with Caitlyn, because I saw them do this with their Varus Karma lane, is at about the 14-15 minute mark when they took the first tower, that they were calling to go top lane. So although you see this more often with Caitlyn, because she can frequently take the first tower so much quicker than any other AD carry, that's why you tend to see these lane swaps into the top lane, especially before the 10-12 minute mark. And here at 11 minutes, Caitlyn's able to knock out that tower, pick up that nice solo gold. Also getting the Rift Herald. This is both games that the University of Toronto team putting emphasis on Rift Herald. Now, of course, they are winning both games quite handily when they decide to take that, and it was probably a good reason why they finished the game in low 20 minutes here. But this definitely priority, and you don't see a lot of the pro teams putting this much priority. But then there's also not this much of a skill difference between some of these pro teams. And this University of Toronto team's wanting to show very clean victories, to show very quick dominating victories, but then also trying out some new team comps. So it's nice that they're trying out some new champions, but they're also looking to win as hard as possible. And this Warwick is just so behind, probably will not kill him, but the shot gets off. Looks like it was blocked there. And as it is, Saturday morning, a nice cup of coffee is always in order. Although occasionally working nights once in a while, I'm enjoying coffee at all times of the day, but it's always the most enjoyable in the morning. And this is the time that we're at. We're live here Saturday morning on February 10th. And I say morning, it's 11:55, but the University of Toronto team live in Montreal in this tournament. I believe it was like ESA or something like that, ES something, ESL, not the European Sports League, but anyways, this is a live gaming tournament. I saw another Ontario esports program that they were loading up their bus and heading off to this tournament, and hopefully they weren't that first team that got crushed by the University of Toronto team, because hell, I'll support a local school for no other reason other than that they're local, and I wouldn't want to see them get crushed by the UoT team that badly. So this is very exciting here for me to be casting this UoT team. I did go ahead and cast the award-winning second place finishers of the North American Collegiate Championship over down there in Florida. They also finished second in China and first in Taiwan, and 3 of the players are now on the FlyQuest Academy. And so I had the pleasure of casting that University of Toronto team a year ago up against U-Serious, who had 2 challenger players on their team, including Hyam Viper, who is a continual top 10 NA challenger player, huge carry top laner, and they took down that tournament, but it was very, very hard fought. And if I can figure it out and want to start doing it, I'm going to go ahead and link that video to this, so you can go ahead and watch that championship team before they won their championships and before they got incredibly famous and put on to that academy team. I was casting them, and they looked amazing. But this new iteration of Toronto team, this is early in the season. They're looking to coordinate. As I was saying, there's still a lot of chatter on the calls. There's it sounds like the jungle and the AD carry are the primary voices, but I could be a little bit mistaken, because I've only listened to about a half a game of their comms, and I don't 100% know the voices yet. But yes, I can see that. AD carry is pointing out to the Ardent Sensor there, and I was just doing this exact comp last night, the Caitlyn Lulu, and then once that Ardent Sensor was built, the Caitlyn damage just went up incredibly, and towards the end of the game was face tanking turrets with Orianna shield and Lulu shield with Ardent Sensor, and was not taking any damage from late game towers as an AD carry. Of course, also having a Bloodthirster. But as what I'm saying is extremely effective, big power spike, which normally is a weak point for Caitlyn at this time. She's only got about an item and a half, and no longer having the Lulu constantly around her. But when you throw that Ardent Sensor on, suddenly that some of that power gap, where she's normally weak at this time, that starts to be corrected, and she's suddenly more of an average AD carry, and then she builds into that late game monster that we're going to see when she completes her 3rd item. Just a big team fight win. Just there's too much gold, too much coordination, and I'm not necessarily calling the action here, because all the action's been done. This game's is over. It's 15-1. There was a little bit more of a measured start. The enemy team did not give them as much to work with as the first team that they faced against. But this has been broken open once again with the help of the Rift Herald, and they're going to look to take down this inhibitor. And I would guess back off. They're sitting on a fair bit of gold here. We can see the Caitlyn at 1900, and I see them leaving a ward, going back to buy before doing their finishing push. They could also be getting the Baron They did a 20-minute Baron last game, and that was what helped them finish so quickly. So I do see them buying right here, going out and pushing the mid lane, and then rotating over towards Baron. But it is 1740, so that might even be a little bit too early to do. Nice purchase. You just go ahead and buy that cash, the Infinity Edge. You got the Static Shiv Infinity Edge, lots of crit. Went ahead and upgraded the boots. This is a good place to be at, mostly in regards to being in comparison. And happy to see Raiders here as a sponsor of the 80 carry player, and they're a great esports organization that I've had the pleasure of casting at, I believe, 4 times. So they do a real good job, and it's a real fun time on their social events. A lot of Pink City parties, and if you've never been to a Pink City party, check one out at Raiders. It's a good time. 15-1. We're going to look to see how UoT closes out the game here. So there, the person wasn't around, was probably looking at what to buy next. And this team is already checked out. They knew who they were against. They tried to keep it close for as long as possible, but they're resigning to the fact that they're just not at this level at this time. And you know, this is the team that you could be watching on television sometime over the next year, sometime in the 2018 season. And I will have the pleasure of casting them over at Geek Fest, February 14th. That's right, over on Spadina. And it's like a cycle studio. Anyway, search Geek Fest 2018. They're going to be doing some show matches up against some solo queue competition, and hopefully make things a little bit entertaining for everyone. So that's February 14th at Geek Fest. The games start at 6 p.m. So look that up and come support the University of Toronto team. And you could be seeing some future stars in the making. But I do like what I see so far. I just don't feel that the competition is really at their level. So I'm going to be waiting to see what they do a little bit later in the day, possibly as they get out of the group stage or the round robin stage, if that's in fact what they're in. I don't know the tournament structure, but this will not be enough. No, it will not. And we'll see when they can actually start facing some teams that have won some games. And we're going to hopefully see more than a single death go their way. Kazakh's looking to collect a little bit more. Wanting to get that KDA up. And a very successful game.